and I had a day meeting and a night meeting and no food and yeah.
That's not good. Yeah, I've spent all my time glued to this little black chair I'm in. Jean's got the thing set up there.
So are you, you're live right now?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Let's see who this is. B1110DL.
I don't see Doug.
He's not here yet unless he's this person.
Oh, that looks like Mr. Jelinek.
Yes.
Judge, is White Pigeon your other one today?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Here's Mr. Coleman.
There we go.
We have these two zoning violations. One's at 1:30, one's at 2 something, and then I have a number of telecoms to do. Mr. Coleman is here from the Library of Congress, I guess.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Give me a minute here if I get everything set up. Mr. Jelinek is still trying to connect here. Oh, that's the wrong file. Mr. Jelinek, can you hear me? I see a lot of ceiling fans in the course of my day. Maybe a dozen or more a week. Mr. Jelinek, can you hear me? We're getting close, I think.
When you get done doing these Zoom meetings, you'll have the patience of a saint.
maybe so. It does take a lot of patience. Every day we have struggles getting people connected. And Mr. Jelinek, can you hear me? Oh, come on. Mr. Jelinek, can you hear me? I'm not sure what he's doing wrong. It looks like he should have sound. Sometimes I have to disconnect them. He's not doing anything to change the circumstance we're in here. Mr. Jelinek, I'm going to remove you and ask you to come back in, and perhaps we can get connected correctly. But right now I can't hear you, and let me see if this works. I don't think he speaks Spanish. Here he goes. Do, 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 do. We're getting close.
Roxanne, did you put the share screen up intentionally?
I did. I paused it.
Okay.
Mr. Jelinek, I think we're almost there. All right, Mr. Jelinek, can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
All right, very good. We've got where we needed to be. Good afternoon, sir. This is Judge Middleton. I'm here at the court in Centerville. This is the time and date for a continued zoning violation hearing for your property out on Tim Road. We were here some months ago and we continued the matter for further hearing until today. Mr. Kuhlman has submitted a updated report to the court, which we'll start to address here in a moment. Attorney Roxanne Sieber of the Sieber Law Firm is here on behalf of the township. Also, their zoning enforcement officer, Douglas Kuhlman, is here. Mr. Kuhlman, would you raise your right hand, and Mr. Jelinek, would you raise yours? Do you swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give here will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief? I would note Jean Teff, the White Pigeon clerk, she's on the next case. Ms. Sieber?
Thank you, Your Honor. This was a compliance order that was entered as a result of a citation issued by Mr. Kuhlman. The hearing, there was a compliance order entered on 12/20 of 19, which gave Mr. Jelinek until March the 20th, 2020 to remove junk, tires, vehicles, unlicensed and inoperable vehicles, and litter from the property. There was also a person apparently living in a travel trailer, which we may remember from the last hearing. On December the 9th of 2020, we did hold a show cause hearing, and that hearing was continued until today in order to permit Mr. Jelinek to possibly get the property into compliance as we had outlined in the hearing. We did indicate that he needed to license and repair the motorhome and not allow anyone to live in it, to remove the unauthorized walls and fence or get zoning administrator approval, and to stack the wood for burning. You may recall that Mr. Jelinek at the time had placed some temporary structures out onto his property, and those were being used apparently to house some of the items that he wished to keep. Mr. Kuhlman did go out yesterday, took some photographs and submitted a report, which is on the screen here, and we'll ask Mr. Kuhlman to go through it. Mr. Jelinek did remove his fence, and it does appear that some of the wood has been cleaned up and that some of the unlicensed or inoperable vehicles that were there have been removed. Mr. Kuhlman did note that there has now been a proliferation of these portable tent type structures, kind of like a Quonset hut or a metal frame structure, and that some of them appear to be falling down. We're not sure what he's got going inside of those, but when Mr. Kuhlman indicated at the last hearing that, gee, we don't really have a problem with the temporary structures, it wasn't an invitation to create more. And I'm afraid that's what Mr. Jelinek has created here, which now we basically have kind of a compound made out of tarps and suspended on some kind of metal framing.
All right, Officer Kuhlman, you were there yesterday, which would be March 30th.
Yes, Your Honor.
And this exhibit that she's about to present is your investigation from yesterday.
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
And you took the pictures.
Yes, I did.
Are they fair and accurate representations of what you saw yesterday?
Yes, they are.
And Ms. Sieber, do you wish to admit this as Exhibit 1 for purposes of this hearing?
I do, Your Honor, please.
Every time it's Exhibit number 1, then it'll be Exhibit number 1 for today's hearing. For 3/31/21, it's admitted. You may inquire of your witness. He is under oath.
Thank you. Mr. Kuhlman, typically you would prepare a report containing some written information as well as numerous photographs, and that's what this particular document is, correct?
That is correct.
And could you just briefly summarize the contents of your first couple pages of your report?
As I mentioned, I did go out there yesterday to conduct the inspection. Basically, I think overall the property is cleaner in respect of having litter or debris laying all over the place and inoperable vehicles, but we now have more of these temporary tarp structures. They're like the metal framed ones that you see at Menards or TSC or whatever, but they're covered with various kinds of tarps and secured different ways, and a lot of them, even on the ends of them, the tarps are now falling down. In some of the photos, you'll see that the tarps actually on the roof are caving in on them. So a good windstorm, I think, is going to probably have half these tarps blown up against the trees, and all the items that are in these structures are going to be exposed for plain view and exposed to the weather.
Mr. Kuhlman, can you see my screen that I'm sharing here?
I can.
Okay, so this first picture here these are new from last time, correct?
The one on what I say is my left is definitely a new one. I believe the one to the right is new or relocated. I did not go onto the property. I took these photos from the adjacent property and from US 131. So I don't know the total number of increase in these temporary structures that have been placed on the property.
Is this over here on the far right, is that a vehicle?
If you scroll down through the next few photographs, you'll see it's like a utility trailer that's got stuff stacked up on it.
This is a different view of the same property, but these are not the same temporary structures, right?
The first one on the left, and I believe the middle one is definitely new ones. Those two right there that you have up on the screen, those were existing from my last inspection.
And this view is this the same one on the previous photo?
So that photo right there, the one that you see on, I'm going to call it my right, it's got the green and the white. That is a new one, and as you can see, it's already, the tarps are already coming loose and coming down.
This is the travel trailer that we spoke about last time?
That is the motor home that last time had electrical cords running into the engine compartment of it. There is another view, a few photos down, that does show the license plate number of that motorhome. I am not aware whether that plate, it appears that that plate is expired. I have no idea whether the plate belongs on that vehicle or not.
Did you have an opportunity to speak with Mr. Jelinek at all yesterday?
I did not go on his property.
How many, about how many of these temporary structures are out there now?
I'm gonna guess there's somewhere close to probably half a dozen of them.
And do you know whether they have anything inside of them?
The ones that I could see from like the end appeared like they might have a vehicle or something in them, but as far as the exact contents, I do not know what's inside any of them.
Okay, and this one that I have up here right now, it's almost, it's falling apart, or is it covering a boat or something, or?
I'm not sure what's in it, but yeah, it's one of those metal structures just like the rest of them that is just falling apart.
So in terms of what the situation is out there now, really, here's your plate from your motor home, right?
That is correct.
Does it appear from your vantage point as to whether that has the electricity and the water line and stuff have been removed?
I did not see any electrical cords or water lines going to it as of yesterday, no.
Thank you. And what is this on the photograph I'm showing you here? What is is there a canoe or something on top of a building here?
Yes, that's the view from down by the river. I mean, it's like a kayak up there. I don't necessarily think that that's a violation, but I just tried to get enough photos to show the entire property.
Okay. And again, these fairly inaccurately represent what it was you observed yesterday?
Yes, it is.
And is this the street view from 131 that I'm showing you here, where the guardrail's there?
That is correct.
And there's also a house back there that he lives in?
Yes, it's all the way to the far left, almost where that utility pole is to the far left. The house is down there.
Okay. And what about the do you have any idea whether there's somebody living outside in any of these vehicles or structures at this time?
I do not know.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
Mr. Jelinek, do you have any questions you wish to ask of Officer Coleman?
No questions.
I have a couple. These temporary structures, as you call them, are a relatively new phenomenon, and you can buy them and put stuff in them and keep them out of the elements. Probably they work better under some conditions than others. It does appear to me that Mr. Jelinek went to quite a bit of work since we were here last time. The property does look better, and he either put stuff in these things and put up a few extras. I can't really tell how many total. You said half a dozen. I thought there may be as many as 10, but he stacked up the wood, put a camper top on it. He put everything inside these buildings, or these structures. I'm not sure what to call them. They're not buildings. And he went to some work between December and March 31st. So in my mind, that counts for something. But what does the zoning say about the ability to put property in a structure like this? I mean, he went to the effort to put up new ones, put stuff in them. It's been quite windy. I think a storm may do something to them, and I don't know what's in them, but somebody went to quite a bit of work out there since we were here last time. So what does the zoning ordinance say about the ability to have these types of things on your rural property in Constantine Township?
Excuse me, Your Honor. So these would be considered an accessory structure. What I tell most people that want to put these up is that I will allow them to put them up as long as they meet setback requirements from the property lines, from the distance between the structures, and that kind of thing. I have been remiss at charging anybody an application fee, because if you go to like Tractor Supply, these are usually on sale around $299, and a zoning application fee at minimum will be $25. I just have not felt that I was comfortable in charging somebody for putting up one of these temporaries. But basically, Mr. Jelinek could cover 25% of his entire parcel with all structures, and he would be in fine shape. He could put up a nice pole barn on that property and put all this stuff in the pole barn, and I think we would all be tickled to death. My problem is, you can see like this photograph that's on the screen right now. I don't know how long it's been up, but it's already falling down. There's already an ongoing dispute between Mr. Jelinek and the neighbors. So every time this is going to happen, I'm going to get a call, and I'm going to have to go back out there and start enforcement matters or write more citations. And I think we're going to be at a never-ending battle here, just because these structures, what I call the temporary structures, are not long-term. I had one of these myself when I was in the process of moving where I live now, and the thing lasted about 3 years and started going to shreds. So I don't think it's going to be a permanent fix, and I think we're going to be right back at it again.
Well, you've got a neighbor complaining, which drives the action here, but I'm not sure what's the actual violation. Some people, you let them put these up, others you don't. And the fact that he did a bunch of them is some vague violation of the ordinance. Mr. Jelinek, what's your position? Am I correct? You did a lot of work since I saw you the last time?
Yes, I have. And the structure that collapsed is one of the new ones I just put up. And we had that windstorm last week, and I wasn't finished putting it together, and the wind knocked it down. And between working third shift and trying to get some sleep during the day, but I'm saving up for a pole barn. But the motorhome is insured and licensed. I haven't received the new plate in the mail yet. There's a total of 6 of those portable garages.
All right.
One collapsed because of the windstorm last week.
And the spring winds aren't done.
No,
So the one we're seeing on the screen is actually one of the new ones?
yeah, and I hadn't been completed yet, and then the wind blew it down, so I got to start over on it.
What's in it?
Building materials and car parts. One of them's got a 1950 Chevrolet that I'm trying to restore in. And
Miss Sieber, what do you want me to do here?
The initial violation was with respect to the junk tires, vehicles, unlicensed, inoperable, the litter, and the logs. The problem's going to be that as these things come down, we're going to either have renewed litter violations, or we're going to have to come up with some kind of a solution that doesn't involve Mr. Kuhlman getting called out there every time something happens. So perhaps we would request that, you know, this particular one and those that are presently out there be the last ones, and he get these up and in a condition that they're not falling apart. And if he wants to, you know, any more that he brings out, he's going to have to come to Mr. Kuhlman and get approval for it, because at some point we're going to hit that 25%. I don't know that I can police, you know, on a daily basis how often we're supposed to, you know, make sure the wind doesn't get it. But I would think if he's got stuff inside there that's valuable to him, that he would be motivated to keep them covered and not in this condition. So, Mr. Kuhlman, is that an appropriate resolution if we limit the numbers right now and ask him to get these couple that are down repaired and keep them in repair?
I would be totally satisfied with that.
All right, well, Mr. Jelinek, I've got to give you some credit where credit is due. You got rid of the cars, you got rid of the tires, you got the wood stacked up. We'll take your representation, because you're under oath, that the motorhome is licensed and insured. And then you went to the effort to put all the property inside of these temporary structures. So you didn't just blow me off like some people do, and then we have to come in and do it ourselves. Plus it was winter. January wasn't bad, February was terrible, March wasn't bad. But you did all this in the winter time. So you made significant progress. And it's somewhat vague as to your ability to do these, but as Ms. Sieber says, it's in your own best interest to have these things up and tight. And it would be nice to have a nice pole barn, big enough to put everything in it. You can have as much junk as you want if you put it in a pole barn and shut the door. But you did make some effort to clean the property up. So, all right, Ms. Sieber, you may do an order that no additional buildings no additional structures without approval of the zoning administrator.
And can we request that those that are out there be repaired within 21 days?
Yeah, that's my next. Bring all the structures there into serviceable, appropriate condition. He's going to probably do that anyway, because it's in his interest to protect this property.
And the order also reflect that we cannot have people living in recreational vehicles on the property.
Define living.
I can do that in the order. No sleeping in, no cooking, no.
Yeah, but can't you have somebody come for the weekend and sleep in your motorhome in the backyard of your own property?
You can camp on a property for 14 calendar days per year, but you cannot have somebody living in it as a full-time resident.
All right, there's the answer to that. Every township is different, and there are some issues with that near where I live. Mr. Jelinek, you're still working full-time, as I recall. April is coming. You should be able to get this property into compliance. Can you live with those conditions? No additional structures, bring all the buildings into proper repair and maintenance, and no one reside on the property in a motorhome, although you can camp for 14 calendar days in a year. Is that acceptable to you?
Yes, Your Honor, no problem with that.
Your Honor, may I request 21 days for the repairs?
Yes.
I will just stress, as I have in the past, if Mr. Jelinek has any questions, he can call me, or I'm more than willing to stop out and walk through and see what he would like to do and assist him.
So I've got your number on some of this paperwork here.
All right, Mr. Jelinek, we did make some progress here, which is good. How many acres is this?
2.6.
2.6? And how much river frontage?
92 feet.
All right, well, it looks like a nice piece of property. It's just got too much stuff on it. Pole barn would go much to solving all these problems. All right, anything further we need to place on this record?
I think we're all set. I'll submit that order under the 7-day rule.
Yes. Mr. Jelinek, that means that you'll get the order. You have 7 days to object if something is in it other than what we said here. And if not, you don't need to do anything. I'll just sign it after the 7 days have expired. If you object to something that was in it that's other than what we said here in court, you have that amount of time to notify the court. All right, sir, you're good to go. Ms. Sieber, I'll see you again next time. Mr. Kuhlman is stuck here with me for a while yet.
I'm going to cut out for this one.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay.
I know. I'll watch.
All right, give me just a minute here, Doug. I'll bring everybody else in.
I'll step away for just a minute here as well.
All right. Okay, let's get ready for our next hearing. We've left the live feed on. I'll turn the record back on. And we'll bring in Joe Wiki, Lance Thornton, Gene Teft, and somebody from Galaxy A51. That's Mr. Christner. Whoops. Mr. Christner, can you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Is Ava with you?
Yeah, she's sitting right here.
Okay, I can only see her shoulder. All right, we just finished a case from another township, and we're gonna address this one, which is a big fat file. Which is entitled Jaden Christner and White Pigeon Township versus Jaden Christner and Ava Miller. This has to do with a property on US 12 and Lutz Road. I guess it's actually on Lutz Road, 68641 Lutz Road. It's a 2018 file, 183689. ON, it's a zoning case. We've been at this for a long time. We had our last hearing on January 6th. Mr. Christner had been working on this property. People called it the Rainbow House or the Circus House, or a property of some notoriety at the intersection of US 12 and Lutz Road, close to the Township Hall Fire Department. Mr. Christner had great large plans for this property and had been inching to some conclusion. The matter was continued for today. I set it for review for March 31st, 2021. Project was to be completed and inspected by June 23rd. And there's a lot of restitution of the township, $4,014. Mr. Coleman is here on behalf of the township, who is their zoning enforcement officer, Joe Wickie, who is their building inspector, Gene Taft, who is the township administrative assistant, and Mr. Lance Thornton is here for the township. Mr. Jaden Christner and Miss Ava Miller are here. I did get an update yesterday from Mr. Coleman regarding the status of his investigation into the matter. It does appear some additional work has been done on the property, and I am aware, as I was in the last case, we were in the dead of winter. We were here on January 6th, and so we had January, February, and March, and I set this matter for a review here today. So let's start with Mr. Coleman. Would you raise your right hand? Mr. Christner and Miss Miller, would you each raise your right hand? You swear or affirm any testimony you're about. Mr. Wickie, why don't you as well? You swear or affirm any testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true to the best of your knowledge and belief.
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
All right. I thank you all for being here in a timely manner. We just finished that. We had a 1 o'clock, a 1:30, and so we're pretty much right on time. Mr. Thornton, what's the position here?
Well, we do not believe a lot of progress has been made since the January 6th, shown by Mr. Kuhlman's report. The inside still gutted, the outside still not finished. The porch isn't finished. It still has a board propping the roof up on the porch. There's just a lot that hasn't been done. The township's fear is that we're going to get to June 23rd and there's going to be excuses as to why Mr. Christner and Ms. Miller couldn't get this home finished. But that's kind of basically the township position at this point.
Mr. Coleman, you sent this to my court administrator yesterday. It's a report and accompanying photographs. You did that inspection yesterday, March 30th,
Yes, Your Honor.
and that's the report of your inspection?
It is, Your Honor.
Did you take the photographs?
I did.
Are they fair and accurate photographs of what was taken?
Yes, they are, Your Honor.
I'm going to accept that report and the photographs as exhibit number 1 for today's date. And we'll operate from that. As I indicated, we're always at a disadvantage when we are in the dead of winter. I don't know where the June 23rd date came from. I think the parties all agreed to it. It does appear to me that quite a bit of work has been done there since we were last there. Mr. Christner, what's been going on out at this property?
Well, since the last court date, we ripped down a few more ceilings and we discovered, there's fire damage. So my plans at the end of January were to talk to another engineer again about replacing the floor joists above the master bedroom because they're fairly damaged. After talking with him, he explained to me how to replace them to his liking. And since then, I've just been helping the electrician, rewire the house. So we got a few more days on that. And then we got a plumber starting next week. So it's not the original plumber that we were going to go with, but different guy. So, but other than that,
So how often are you out there working?
Hours wise or days or I've probably been out there about
every
20
day?
hours. Probably about every
20
other
hours?
day. About 20, 30 hours a week. I'm out there quite a bit actually.
What have you done to the outside? It looks like there have been some things done to the outside since I saw you last.
Well, since the weather broke, last week, we started working on the porch and I started trimming all the windows. The plumber that's going to start on our house, his name's Austin Groves. And the electrician that is wiring the house is David Blair. I had the last name wrong. It's not Broker, it's Blair.
The David Broker I know has got some serious health problems. What's Austin's last name?
Groves.
Groves. Mr. Wiki,
Yes,
have they obtained the permits they need for the plumbing and electrical work?
yes, sir. We do not have a mechanical permit in place yet, though.
No, I didn't get that. No.
Well, you're not there yet. All right, well, it does appear that Mr. Christner is making good faith effort to proceed on this project. We've got a finish line, which may be somewhat arbitrary, which is June 23rd. Mr. Thorne's concern is we're going to get there. Two things about construction projects that I found to be true in my experience. They take longer than you thought they were going to take, and they cost more than you thought they were going to cost. Rarely do they come in on time and on budget. You pull up the floor and find out there are issues you didn't know you had. You've had other issues, Mr. Christner. You had the other case, which I won't get into, where you've got the Attorney General on that matter, and Eva's got a case, which I was afraid would interfere with this, but you're continuing to work on it. Mr. Thorne, did he pay the restitution to the township?
He is not, Your Honor. They owe over $6,000. 4,114 of that was due today. We have not received any recent payments on restitution at all.
he got arrested by the Attorney General for non-support. And he has a substantial non-support obligation. And that may have diverted some of his funds. Mr. Christner, what's your plan to pay that ordered restitution?
I was actually going to pay half of it by the end of today, but I was going to ask if somebody could go over it, because I mean the township is saying I owe $6,000, but back in September or August, me and Eva both went down there and paid everything off, and then we were
Well, I don't know about 6,000, but I ordered 4,014. I guess we'll fight about the rest of it. So
Right.
you're prepared to pay $2,000, $7 today?
Yeah. And you're right, I was saving my money so I could pay up my child support today.
Well, you got multiple things. You got child support, you got this, you've got the cost of materials and labor to do the work. But obviously, you're serious about it. You haven't abandoned the project. The township, as you know, wanted to tear the house down and level a lot. My feeling, and this is a 2018 case, they're certainly losing their patience with the judge. Don't smoke in here, you're in a court proceeding. Trying to let you get this project done. If I weren't here, this project would probably be done in about 2049. I don't know if I'll live long enough to see it be completed. But you are working at it with some more diligence than you had been. Last summer was a COVID summer. You were doing things without proper permits. You were doing things that weren't structurally safe. The township got involved. You got the proper permits. We got inspections. And you're inching toward the finish line. Now, do you still think you can meet the June 23rd deadline?
Yeah, actually I do, yeah.
Your Honor, the township does have concerns on whether the money is going to be here for Mr. Christner and Ms. Miller to finish this project. Those are based on two things in addition to what the court has mentioned about the support that Mr. Christner owes. One is that Mr. Christner has did purchase in late 2020 another distressed, blighted property in Constantine Township.
I didn't purchase that property. I didn't buy that house. A friend of mine bought that house. I introduced the buyer to the owner, and I just helping them clean it up. I didn't buy that house.
Who purchased it?
James Algia.
Don't you also have one in Montville Township?
Yeah. Yep.
Just for the record, Your Honor, I want to make sure we're talking about the same house. I'm talking about 12631 Riverside Drive.
Oh, I mean, I've owned that house for years. I've been buying it on land contract for years. We just recently paid off the contract and it went into my sole name. I thought you were talking about 12623 Riverside Drive, which is the house next door.
No, I'm talking about 12631 that Register of Deeds records reflect you took ownership of in September, almost at the end of September of 2020.
Yeah, I paid off a land contract. Yeah.
Was it a recorded?
Yeah.
The other issue, well, the problem is with that house, and Mr. Coleman can testify, but it is a blighted property, and Mr. Christner's obviously going to have to spend some money on that property to satisfy Constantine Township. Not our issue, but it may divert. We're concerned it'll divert funds from our project here. The other issue,
I'd like this to be his priority. The problem is the child support issue is pay the child support or go to jail. which means he won't do anything. That's not held by the local prosecutor, it's held by the Attorney General's Child Support Division. They're handling that prosecution. And certainly I'm in favor of him paying his child support. I don't want him, Montville Township's after him for some building down there. Another one, my priority for all that, maybe you ought to sell all of his distressed properties and just focus on this one. But you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and there's only so much capital to go around to apply to these. I want the focus to be on this one. It's a 2018 case. It's been almost 4 years we've been chasing our tails around on this, and you do continue to make progress. I'd hate to get all the way we are now and then order the property to be torn down because we didn't reach the finish line. But it appears to me there has been progress made since we were here in January. Mr. Wiki is up to speed on the project. And I can tell that it's a construction site in progress. The barn looks better, the house looks better. I'm not sure that when you're done, you're gonna have $200,000 in a $100,000 house, but that's up to you.
Your Honor,
Yes,
it's Jean Teff. I'd like to also make a comment if I could, please.
yes,
One of the things that hasn't been brought up in here when Mr. Thornton brought up the $6,000 that was owed, part of that is $2,100 that was put on his winter taxes that he has not paid. When Mr. Christner made a comment about paying here to the township in September, August or September, that was his summer taxes that he came here and took care of. But in the winter taxes, there was also a $2,100 added on to the winter taxes, again, that have not been paid. And I did check with Centerville yesterday, and they told me, and they also gave me proof that those have not been paid. So that is also a part of the $6,000 and some odd dollars that Mr. Thornton was talking about.
all right, well, I didn't order anything. He has a grace period to pay the taxes before there's foreclosure action. But the substantial restitution order to the township, I want that paid first.
The other issue, Your Honor, that concerns us is we learned yesterday and today, or Mr. Coleman did, that the power has been shut off to this property. It's been unhooked at the pole is what the information we got due to non-payment of bills.
That's not good. What's the story regarding that, Mr. Christner?
I just didn't pay it. It's not that I don't have the money to pay it. I just didn't pay it.
Well, how are you doing construction work with no power?
Well, we're doing electrical work right now, so it's not exactly like I want the power on to begin with. I mean, it's not a big issue. I mean, I call right in and they turn it on before 5 o'clock. I mean, I don't know.
All right. Well, there's a lot of red flags here, but there has been progress made, and we've got a June 23rd deadline. I ordered you to pay the whole thing, but if you go to jail for non-support, you're not going to pay anything. So I want you to pay $2,007 by 5 o'clock tomorrow. And that'll pay the first half of it. Now, who's this? Someone from the jail. Good afternoon, sir. What's your name?
Michael Holtz.
All right, Mr. Holtz. I'm not sure if you're for me or for somebody else. I'll find out. But for now, I'll put you in the waiting room. I got a guy named Michael Holtz from the jail in the Polycom room, but I don't have a Michael Holtz to see at 2:30, do I? I do have another guy I need to see, Polycom, but I think it was him. All right, somebody help me out on the guy I got in jail. All right, let's refer back to this. Mr. Christner, I've been more than lenient to let you try to get this project finished. I don't conceive that you're gonna have the inside of this done by June 23rd. I don't know how we're doing, but you continue to work on the barn and on the house. And so our next target date is June 23rd. So I think next court date is June 23rd at 2 p.m. I want you to pay 50% of that $4,014 I owed by 5 o'clock tomorrow. You can pay it at the township hall. Then I want you to continue to make significant progress on this. The balance of that is going to be due when we're here on June 23rd, and you've got some tax issues. I don't know what to say about these other properties. The focus here is on this one. Maybe it'd be easier when we get to Constantine, just have it torn down. I don't know, but this one, I want you to finish it by June 23rd, and I want you to pay the reimbursement to the township. And I want you to stay in contact with Mr. Wiki. They'll help you do this right. If you're gonna do it, you might as well do it right. You're gonna be able to sell it. You won't be able to do anything else with it. But progress has been made, and I want to see you continue to make it. Now we're in April. You've got 2.5 months, which is not a long time to do what you have to do out there. Do you have any questions?
Is the township hall office open now, Your Honor? Are they still closed, or?
Township Hall is open, yes, except Good Friday, we will be closed. And we will be closed Monday morning for a short time. But we are open the rest of the day today. And all day tomorrow.
All right. Okay. Mr. Thorne, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
All right. All right. Yes?
I don't know whether you had a chance to review the report. We now have a refrigerator sitting out in the yard next to the barn. We got a snowblower.
Yeah, I saw the picture of it. So you got a refrigerator with no electricity. Put that in the barn. Refrigerators are a particular type of nuisance because kids can get in them. I'm not sure what's up with that, but put that in the barn.
The other thing we would.
I would also just
Go ahead.
I would also just remind you that on the burn pile, there's building materials and fiberglass insulation in there, and that is against the Michigan state law to be burning building materials.
Yes, it is. So don't burn it. Get ready to haul it to the landfill. This case is rife with issues. Just one moment, please.
Looking, Deputy Mooney, how may I help you?
Hello, Deputy Mooney. Michael Holtz is in my Polycom room. They're waiting for him over in Judge Patterson's room.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks, bye.
Bye. Mr. Holtz, we're going to transfer you to a different room. I'm going to disconnect you and the sheriff will reconnect. All right, every time we turn 1 degree to the right or left, there are other issues in this case. Jaden, you're always trying to cut corners and get by. Just try to be in compliance with all the zoning, and we'll all live to see it. All right, I'll put notes in the file. Our next hearing will be the 23rd of June at 2 p.m. All right, anything further?
Thank you, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. I believe that's the last thing I have scheduled for today. We'll be back in the morning with a full docket of criminal matters.